Good morning, everyone. It is the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, September 29th. We are here to discuss Rangers' late win over Livingston, dissect what it means, does it mean anything at all, the fallout from that, and start a bit of a look ahead to Rangers' European action this week. Chris, Jack, you are here. You are slightly weary and not just from watching Rangers yesterday. Is that right?
Yes, Rangers watching Rangers does take its toll, as I'm sure a number of people in the comments will sympathise with. But at least we have a victory to discuss. It's been a long time since we've had a Monday morning, and there's been slightly more positive. Last week against Hibs was not a league win. 6 attempts in, we finally have a Premiership victory to discuss. So hopefully everybody's in a slightly more chipper mood this morning.
Yeah, I don't think that I wouldn't bank on it. Do you know that was the first time that
No, you're right. Neither am I.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. That was the first time that Rangers have taken the lead in the Scottish Premiership since the opening day of the season, I believe, when James Tavernier scored from a corner. And there's a lot of this sentiment this morning, and we'll try and get to a lot of comments. Appreciate everyone joining us. A lot of the feeling that I think Chris Boyd said on Sky, didn't he? Papering over the cracks. Wasn't a great performance. I want to get into that particularly, Chris. The fact that Rangers have won, I wasn't at the game. I was at home. Yourself and Blair were there, but I thought it was just quite a stark sound of Rangers scoring this late winner and there being the natural euphoria at that, and then certain chance, which we can't repeat for fear of losing our monetisation. No, I'm kidding. Anti-Russell Martin chance right after that. I don't think I've ever heard that before. So we're going to get into a little bit of that today. A reminder first that this video is brought to you by Willows Fencing. If you want 10% off, if you're getting work done, this Glasgow-based family-run fencing company, 20 years experience, are the place to go. All the relevant links are in the description. Right, Chris, let's talk a little bit about performance first, and then we'll get into some of the wider fallout from it. Rangers were good after 20 minutes, I think I would say. It took them a bit of time to get going. They should have been more than one up by half-time, miss a penalty. Derek Cornelius has a goal that's marginally offside. But then between 43 minutes, Chris, and 84 minutes, they only had 2 attempts on goal. And that, to me, Russell Martin said in the press conference after, he said quite a lot. He said that Rangers played some amazing football in the first half. I don't think I'd go as far as amazing, but I thought there was some more kind of cohesive moments. But he kind of explained the drop-off being too big still between when Rangers are good and sometimes they're not. A certain Gattuso clip comes to mind when he's discussing one of his teams. It felt like such a strange game to me because you could kind of see it coming, couldn't you, in that first half? Sorry, the way that Rangers started that second half. That they probably were going to kick themselves for not being more dominant, and that almost came to pass. I also thought it was quite strange that there was absolutely no subs up until 67 minutes, when it felt like we could see, I think, watching at the game, this is getting away from Rangers a bit. And then it went to the other extreme and Rangers brought on every attacker known to man, every attacker they had on their bench for the final 20. So a lot happened in that game. With a bit of time to reflect on it, how did you kind of see the 90 minutes?
I think amazing is over-egging it quite a lot, to be honest. I understand why Russell Martin is keen to try and talk up the positives and accentuate them, but it felt like a bit the reaction to the Hibs win last week. It was better, but the bar has been so low over the course of the season. It couldn't really get much worse. The bar couldn't be set much lower. So yes, you take your 3 points, you take your positives in terms of Tav getting his goal. Hopefully that's a big moment for Max Aarons as well. But that second half was nowhere near it. I think if the Cornelius goal stands, which obviously it shouldn't have done because it's a clear handball, if he doesn't handle it and he finds another way to put it in and you go 2-0 up, you win the game fairly comfortably. I think that kills it at that stage for Livy. But you then get to half time and you know what's going to come. You know how Livy are going to approach it. You know that they will fancy their chances, that they will sense a weakness and a vulnerability about not just the Rangers team but the Rangers support as well. And they took advantage of that. It's a really nicely worked goal, really poor from John. Has to be doing better in that moment. And at that stage, I felt if there was going to be a winner, it was going to be Livingston rather than being Rangers. Rangers didn't exactly pepper the goalkeeper with shots. They weren't exactly piling forward. And as you said there, it's only when you add a number of attackers into it, it becomes a bit frantic at that stage. You're almost throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks, and that's not the first time that Russell Martin has had to do that. Obviously, when we've been in these situations where games are not going well, and you're throwing bodies at it, hoping that someone can come up with a moment. Thankfully for him, Max Aarons comes up with that particular moment, but in terms of it being a massive step forward and something to really grasp onto and say, well, that's the foundation, that's now the blueprint, I just don't buy into it.
Yeah, I think what probably from those comments post-match, and Russell Martin spoke about proper performances and as you say, that football in the first half. And listen, he's under an inordinate amount of pressure, and it is an important win for him. You could see that with his celebrations. But to me, had Rangers lost that game 1-1, I don't think he'd have been so far in the other direction. And I think that type of reaction where you kind of go for it a bit in your post-match comments, you maybe save that for the dressing room a bit more and encourage the team there, but say, yeah, do you know what? We finally won. That's what the tone should have been, Chris, because Rangers are in this utterly inconceivable position if Max Aarons doesn't score in extra time, that they'd have been going into October searching for their first victory. So that kind of devalues any sort of comeback against Livingston. We won't even get into the money spent comparatively by Rangers and Livingston this summer. For me, this game encapsulates quite a lot of this summer, Chris, and the tone that we've spoke a lot with, and a lot of people getting in touch with us have kind of emphasised that it feels like Rangers have sleptwalked into things, or they've maybe not been brilliantly prepared, and then at the last minute they go, this isn't very good, so we better throw everything at it. If you look at the game in isolation, even in that second half, they had a shot from Mikey Moore that was right at the goalkeeper. Miovski had that header, and then Aarons had his shot. That was all there was. So, as you say, it wasn't as if there was real sustained kind of coordinated pressure on the Livingston goal, and that feels a little bit like, to me, the story of Rangers' season so far. If you look at the money spent, if you look at how many positions at the moment look better, I think there's still an argument that James Tavernier is Rangers' most important player, and if it's not him, it's Nico Raskin. And that's a wider discussion about recruitment, which we need to have at one point, because I think it's very pertinent. But ultimately, this game shows that Rangers have been leaving things too little, too late. They've either been starting games poorly or getting themselves into bad positions. This time they got out of that, and on the basis of chance creation, they probably should have won. But I think I'm in agreement with you that it's not necessarily a game to go. It's not a line in the sand. It's a Rangers should be a bad Rangers team should win that game. Do you agree? Do you think I'm being too negative on it? Which admittedly isn't something I'm often criticised for.
That's generally my role in this partnership, isn't it? No, I think you're spot on. Any Rangers side that wants to be considered as challengers or potential champions has to find a way to win games. So in terms of a positive to take, Rangers managed to find a way to win that game. Come the end of the season, if this has a remarkable turnaround and we're sitting here at May and Rangers have won the Premiership, unlikely, it has to be said. But if that is the case, you can say, well, that was a turning point. That was a huge moment for this group of players, a huge moment for this team, for this manager, maybe even for the support. I don't see it happening. As I spoke about with Blair on the show last night, the only way that Russell Martin can build any form of momentum or goodwill, it sounds easy, but it's by winning a number of games in succession. Yeah. All runs obviously have to start somewhere. That should have been the case last week against Hibs. They couldn't follow up on Thursday night. You've then got the chance to go and follow it up this Thursday. If they can do that and they can win on Thursday and then go to Falkirk, another tricky away game, another plastic pitch and everything that comes with that. If we're sitting in a week's time and they've managed to win 3 games in a week, then it's maybe time for Russell to be a bit more bold in some of these press conferences. Then he can maybe start having a wee chip back like he did with Stevie a couple of weeks ago. See, after one win at Ibrox and 1 win in the league, now's not really the time. It doesn't do anything for you, and the Rangers fans don't want to hear it. And the Rangers fans can see through it. Now they know what they've been watching. They know where this squad is, and they know the standards that are just not being hit right now.
Yeah. On that winning goal, Mays says Raskin was heavily involved in the winning goal thanks to his leap. I don't know if Rangers win the game against Hibs and Livingston without those two set pieces alone, because against Hibs, and you saw it in the first half against Livingston, that the Rangers play better when they've got confidence, when they go a goal ahead. I think you said to me on the phone yesterday in our own post-match debrief on broadcast that you said to me their first goal team, if they concede the first goal, you don't think they're going to come back. You don't think they're going to find a way to win. If they score the first goal, they play with a bit of confidence. As I mentioned at the top of the show, that's only the second time in six league games, where they have scored the first goal. And you could see that with their play for 20, 30 minutes, maybe 25. They had a number of opportunities. Miovski should score when he goes through, when he's sent through by Raskin. I don't think it's brilliant football, but it's closer to what it should look like. I still think at points it was too. It wasn't direct enough for how high Livingston's line was, and when you started to play to Gassama or Antman quickly, Rangers got some benefits of that. But then, like against Hibs, you're relying on that Raskin set piece to open things up and to calm everyone down. And I wrote after that game, Chris, that I think that's what again has been missed in recruitment so far is. You need players like Raskin who are leaders to allow young players like Gassama or Antman, or even someone like Tello Asgard coming up the road. You need leaders to give them breathing space to pave a way forward. And without Raskin in the team, I think that's been pretty non-existent. And again, yesterday, I've not watched Rangers set pieces back in detail yet, but it looked to me like the biggest threat remains not intricate corner routines is what the word I'm looking for. But it's the fact that Nico Raskin is probably Rangers' biggest aerial threat, despite the fact that he's probably one of their smallest players.
And I think a number of the chances now we spoke pre-match over Livingston PA system, so people might not have picked up on it, but we mentioned the fact that chance creation has been such a huge problem for Rangers this season. People naturally, without sounding like Russell Martin, people naturally look at the outcome and they look at the number of goals scored, but the number of goals scored is not great because the chance creation is not great. Was it something like 14 shots on target in the previous 5 games before yesterday? So there's something really, really off about Rangers in the final third. I thought it was a nice move for the Tav goal yesterday. I think Antman does really well. It's a great finish from James Tavernier. You're right back, popping up in the 6-yard box in the way that only James Tavernier does. But you then look at the Cornelius one. It comes from a set piece. The winning goal comes from a corner that, as you say, Raskin gets his head to. There's not a lot of moments where Rangers are slicing through teams. And you look at the money that's been spent on that forward line, the time that they've had together now. You look at the players like Asgard was brought in to be this creative force who can play these passes and score goals. Spends most of his time far too
deep, isn't he? He's way too deep. Yeah,
far too deep to be any effect at all in the final third. I thought Gassama clearly brings a bit of pace and a bit of directness to it. Antman flattering to deceive right now. I'm disappointed with his form of late. Miovski, as you mentioned, there should have scored, but apart from that, there's just not an awful lot about Rangers. It's not as if they're creating a barrel load of chances and you say, well, Livingston are defending for their life, or the keeper has a brilliant game. Keeper has his game of the season against Rangers, or they've been cleared off the line, or it's just unlucky as a couple of tight offside calls. They're just not creating enough chances to actually get in these situations, and that remains a huge issue, and will do until there's a fairly major change.
I thought like the first 10 minutes, like Livingston had like 3 or 4 shots inside the first few minutes. Okay, not huge opportunities, and shots, a shot can be from like 40 yards. But again, I thought at points Rangers yesterday were guilty of I thought Livingston actually, how do I say it? I thought Rangers fell deeper off the ball than Livingston did at points, and that felt like then you've got to build up all over again. And Asgard, I agree with you. Clearly, it's an instruction that he drops out into that left spot, and he's good with his back to goal. He's strong. You can tell he's a tidy player, and he got in the box a couple of times. But I still think he's playing too deep, and Rangers, while there was a few moments where it looked good, where the whole team connected and they went from back to front quickly. There was one move, I think, where Gassam then blazed the ball back for Connor Barron, and a shot's comfortably saved by the goalkeeper, but it was a really nice back to front move like the goal. But again, the gap between that and what falls in the second half is still quite big, and I wonder if it's worth it, this kind of obsession they have with keeping the ball, because it still, apart from those moments, makes them a bit predictable if they're not turning defences. Let's get to some other comments. Blue Nose Sparky, a bit more positive. He says, we've struggled at Livy away for years. It's a good result. Alex Richardson says, first half we were excellent. That should have been 4 or 5. That is a problem. That is the problem, that Rangers weren't clinical enough. I think 4 or 5 is generous, but nice to hear a mix of views from Alex. And we should talk about some of the things that were good, Chris, even if it feels like, it does feel like negativity is the feeling, and you can't get away from that based on basically what the atmosphere at the game was like yesterday. I want to get your point of view on that, and the chance and what I've put as the thumbnail to this video is this relationship broken? Is there any way back? Russell Martin was asked after the game yesterday about the consistent chanting against them throughout the game yesterday, which continued on even after Rangers scored that late winner. Here is what he had to say on that.
Still some of the chants from the crowd. I appreciate it's not what you want to hear, but does that show that this winning them over is going to be a long process? It's not
honestly, I can't control it, and I can't waste energy focusing after I use all my energy for the players and the staff inside the building, and to try and improve us and to win more games. And ultimately, if we do that, hopefully everyone will be happy. So is why I went down the tunnel after, because the players deserve to enjoy it. So it's not about me at that point, so they could enjoy it, and I had to wait for them in the dressing room.
What do you make of it? I mean, the whole going down the tunnel early, that's kind of been consistent regardless of the result. And I don't blame Russell Martin for that, because what's he supposed to do? Like, he can't, if he goes to applaud the fans, Chris, I don't think they clearly don't want that. Similarly at home, that atmosphere has been pretty consistent. Have you ever seen anything like that, firstly? And do you think there is any way back from that? Because it feels so intense at the moment, that insistence from the crowd that there is a change. And I think once that's turned, it's so hard to turn back, isn't it?
We spoke after the Hearts game about things that we'd never seen before, and a manager being booed back on and into the technical area at the start of the second half was one. Seen some fairly poor times at this club over the last 10 years or so. Seen a lot of managers come under an awful lot of pressure, especially at home. Had never seen a manager being booed on his way back out. Yesterday, you can add that to a list. Never seen a manager come under such fire from the fans in the immediate aftermath. It was just like a switch being flicked, almost like the goal goes in, you celebrate, you have that initial roar, and then almost immediately it's right, let's just get back on and let's go and shout at the manager. As he said, he also went into the tunnel early on, even after that, when the players are kind of going round, and then even once everybody's off the part, the fans are leaving the stadium, there's still the odd shout. It feels like that relationship is broken. It feels like there's no way back. He speaks about having to win games in a certain way to get people on board. I think it's hope. I think he's hoping that that's the case. I don't see any realistic way that that's the case. It feels a lot further on than Clement got to, or Beale got to, or Gio got to, or even Pedro got to. Once the fans decide that you are no longer the man, it's almost impossible. And all those guys that I've just rhymed off there, they were never able to come back from the stage that Russell Martin has been at for quite some time now. He could have gone after Bruges. He could have gone after Hearts. It feels like we're just in this holding pattern. Again, mentioned to player last night, you could go and win the next 5. You don't win game 6, people say, "See, told you so," and all this narrative then comes back again. So it feels like he's fighting a losing battle there. And if he does somehow find a way to come back from it, fair play to him. It would be quite a remarkable transformation, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, Craig Hunter says that the chance show, similar to what you're saying, that whether it's the next loss or draw, those chances are going to start again. And if it's happening when Rangers are winning, then I guess that proves the point. Chris not happy with the best we've played all season. Quotes post-match. Carl, the only chance he has is to win every game till the end of the season, and there's no chance that is happening. Comment here from a friend of the show, CGM55, says, we're beginning to see the trend of Martin's other clubs' poor start, then results start to pick up and the team go on a long winning run. Can't see it, but it's definitely similar. It feels so toxic at the moment, Chris, doesn't it? And again, it feels like something that this was an unpopular appointment, and in order to get over that, you either have to start perfectly or I think you have to compromise. And I think a lot of people would agree with the sentiment that the Rangers haven't, or Russell Martin hasn't played the politics of it terribly well at points, and that's an important part of it up here, whether you like it or not. You know that better than me, having covered this club for a long time. Rangers have Sturm Graz and then Falkirk away, another plastic pitch. After that, what's the midweek game after that? Is it Europe again, or is it a free midweek, or is it the break? Is it the break?
International break after that. I know we both always really look forward to the international breaks. Dundee United at Ibrox is the fixture after that. As I said earlier on, he has to win these next 2. If he can win the next 2 and you go into that break in a different frame of mind, I don't think it changes that relationship that we've just spoken about. I don't think it changes it. It doesn't take a whole load of pressure off his shoulders. He's still in a situation where a large percentage, and we can't say everyone obviously, but a large percentage of the Rangers support don't want him to be the head coach any longer. But he has to win these next 2. It has to give himself a chance heading into that break. If you don't win the next 2, or you only win 1 out of the next 2, you know what the reaction is going to be. You know what the narrative is going to be. People then have to. People are then going to stew quite a lot during that break. As I said earlier on, runs have to start somewhere. They missed the chance, or they blew the chance this week, just gone, because they couldn't follow up on Thursday night. He has to make the most of it. But we're speaking about winning 1 game or winning 1 or 2 and getting to the break, and then it's a reset and you go again. It has to go and win. It has to be a run easily well into the double digits to take any of the pressure off and to convince these fans that he's actually the right man. Have we seen anything from this team so far this season to suggest they could go and win 9, 10, 11, 12 games on the spin? No, we've just not.
Yeah. I look as well, Chris, at we'll speak about Max Aarons and that late winner and a couple of things which merit discussing, but still no. Rangers spent a lot of money on Manny Fernandes, still not in the squad. Kieran Dowell, that was a whole other kind of political element at the start of the season, again not in the squad. So I look at the money spent on Manny Fernandes and say Oliver Antman. I think Oliver Antman's a promising young player, but he's so far he's not been the answer in the right wing, right? So far he's not your, like Gassama I think probably is on the left, although I think he's paying the price for Rangers relying on him too heavily at the moment, but he's still their most sustained threat. I look at that again and I think, surely you put the Manny Fernandes money on top of the Oliver Antman money and you go out and get someone of real quality. Václav Černý went for less money than that. I don't think Rangers' right side at the moment is stronger than it was last season. Have they upgraded on Hamza Gaman up top? I don't think so. Is their midfield stronger than last year? It's probably sitting about the same because we're yet to see Tello Asgard's. I think he's had some promising moments, but then again, yet to score. I think he's playing too deep in games like yesterday because that's the instruction, and then it's a big gap to make up to be in the positions that he should be in. But yeah, it looks to me that Manny Fernandez and Oliver Antman, probably two players who have a lot of potential, but Rangers have needed also performances now, haven't they? And that cost a little bit more money. Max Aarons, Mako says it's his first goal in 3 years. Could tell it meant a lot for him. He was speaking after the game, and that will be on the website at 12 o'clock. He needed a bit of confidence, Chris, and I don't think he's going to come in ahead of James Tavernier at the moment, but he will need to be rotated. Felt like a big moment potentially just for him and his tricky start to life at Rangers, especially because of that red card over in Bruges.
Hopefully it can be. Hopefully it can be a moment that he thinks, right, I've not quite arrived as a Rangers player, because nobody can claim that in what's been a poor season so far. But hopefully it is a moment that he takes a bit of heart from. I think he's looked a bit shell-shocked so far this season, just about life at Rangers. Now, has been a Championship Premier League player all of his days, but not playing for clubs anywhere near the size of Rangers and have the demands and the expectations and have the supports of Rangers. That can take a bit of getting used to. Some players take a bit of time and can then handle it. Some players just never handle it at all. Hopefully Max Aarons has had his moment and he can prove that he can handle it. But as you said there, as I wrote in my analysis piece on the site yesterday, James Tavernier's ahead of him. He was brought in to be the guy. This is going to be the season. We'll see the captain phased out. He'll play less. He won't be relied on as much. We're not going to see him. We're not going to see him in the team. They tried it right at the start after Aarons was able to switch from left to right. Tried it for a couple of games and clearly wasn't working. That night in Bruges was a really difficult one for him. And for me, James Tavernier, as you said earlier on, is still one of the most influential players, if not the most influential player in this side. He's got that right back slot for now. Aarons is going to have to fight his way to get back in there. And it feels a signing so far that's just not quite worked. Not at the same level of, as you mentioned there, £3.5 million on a centre half that can't even get in the squad. It's not at that level of say waste. That's maybe too strong right now, but he's got a real job in his hands to prove that he can be the backup to Tav right now. Never mind be the guy that you say, well, he's actually going to take his place in this side and be the successor.
Loans also aren't free. Like, I think we have this view of loans that they're they are just that a parent club gives a player away and says, you pay a little bit of their wages, look after them. They cost money too, and in some cases Rangers are playing a large chunk of Nasser Giga's not small wages, because he moved to a Premier League club for £10 million in January. That there's a cost to all these temporary signings. Anything to note? Anything else, Chris? I mean, I feel like we've kind of covered the negative of it. We should give Rangers credit for getting a win. Maybe that will give them a little bit of confidence. They did deserve it over the 90 minutes. I believe that, even if I thought the way they managed that second half made it very, very tricky for them near the end. Any thoughts? You're going out to Graz tomorrow ahead of Thursday night. It's a really big game for Rangers if they want to get anything really out of this Europa League group stage. It felt like a weird last Thursday night in comparison to what we've seen as of late. Final thoughts before we catch up with you in some European hotel somewhere?
Really just how important this game is for Rangers in terms of European campaign. On paper the fixtures looked favourable. You've got a home tie to get yourself off and running against a Graz side, or a Genk side, that I think when the night showed they were okay but no better than that. Rangers should have won that game. Time will tell how costly that is. If you go 0 from 6 in your first two, you're up against it. When you've got Porto to come, when you've got Roma to come, you've got Braga to come, three of the more established and certainly the higher quality sides that you will face in these fixtures, you don't want to be leaving yourself with too much work to do. Ultimately, people will say Falkirk is the bigger game. If you were to pick one, you would rather have 3 points against Falkirk than 3 points in Graz. You take a point on Thursday and then go win win the league game. But right now, Rangers just need to win as many games as possible. Points here and draws on the road. It's no use for them, regardless of the competition. So, as I say, heading out there tomorrow, press conference is scheduled for about 6 o'clock or so Wednesday evening UK time. So we'll see how the squad is fitness wise and see what Russell Martin's mood is. Considering how he's been over these last few weeks, I don't think his mood will change that much. He's not really showing signs of a guy who's under huge pressure and fearing for his job. So I think he'll be fairly optimistic heading into that game. But let's see how optimistic he is post match heading into Sunday.
Yeah, let's see. As ever, we will be right across it on the Rangers Review. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've not done so already, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video when we go live. We will be back throughout the week, of course. Derek's back tomorrow in the hosting chair. We'll speak to you then. Have a good Monday, and bye for now.